Hi, everyone. This is Cindy from Dear Mom Reads and Writes. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if this is your first time. So far on this channel, I've talked about two books. Usually, so far it's been two books that I talk about, and this week though, I'm going to switch it up. So Dear Mom is a blog I started about 5 years ago during lockdown. I started writing letters to my departed mom kind of out of nowhere on Thanksgiving Day, and I'm still writing them. I write to her about, funny, goofy family stories, as well as sad, grief, the grief of her passing, my dad passing, friends, current events, kind of whatever pops in my head. Last week I talked about Labor Day. Anyway, I'm still writing those, and I am so curious to find out if you write as well. So that's where Dear Mom, if you're interested, you can go to my blog site. It's dearmom, DearMomm.com. That's where the letters are, and it will brief description about what that's all about. But so this channel is Dear Mom Reads and Writes because I read and I write. I write, beside those letters, I write some narrative nonfiction. I've written short stories, and narrative nonfiction seems to be my home. I'm just a journalist, I think, at heart. I'm curious about people, curious about life in general. So I ask a lot of questions, and it leads me to write things like that or observe things. I'm a big observer, people watcher. Anyway, I don't know. I hope you are too. I'd love to know if you're writers as well. So today I'm going to talk about, instead of the reading part, which I'm reading, I'll mention that maybe at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about writing. I've written and journaled since I was a kid. Teenager, wrote really sad poetry, very bad poetry, and kept a journal. I've kept a journal on and off my whole life. And I do so now as well. And that's not as actively doing that because I'm busy doing other things like writing other things and doing this channel, which I'm falling in love with. But the lighting is driving me nuts. So bear with me trying to get that sorted out. I don't have great light in my apartment. I just moved here. I do have blazing southwest light in the afternoon that I just haven't found a spot that it works. So today, this is my spot. Thanks for helping, having the patience to deal with that with me. So hopefully the technical things will be sorted out as time goes by. It's not my favorite piece of this, but anyway. So writing. Back to writing. So I have been lucky to have been published. I used to work for a local newspaper years ago and wrote kind of municipal meetings. And my favorite part of that was interviewing citizens in the community, noteworthy according to whomever makes that decision. I loved doing that because, like I said, people are fascinating. Anyway, now I write about a few other things. I don't know, whatever comes up. I don't know if you write, a creativity comes to you, it just kind of bubbles up out of nowhere, or I'll see something or hear something and I think, oh, let me write that down. So I write things down. When I don't have my notebook with me, I write notes in my phone, and you never know what's going to turn into a story. So that's kind of my creative process. Sometimes I don't know how to describe it. It just bubbles up. If I leave enough space in my life, quiet, like when I'm walking or maybe doing yoga. Yes, I do yoga. Not as often as I was like, but I digress. Anyway, so today, to do something different, I thought I would read one or two of my, a published work that was published in the Minerva Press, the Keeping Room online journal. It's a wonderful journal. It's for women 50 and over, celebrating women 50 and over, which I'm 50 and over. Excuse me. So it was just published there, and I thought I'd read one of my Dear Mom letters. It's one I wrote probably about 4 or 5 years ago, early on, but it's a story, kind of a family story that it's a story I've never forgotten. And I wrote it early in the Dear Mom blog process. And so I thought I would read those two today to kind of give you a sample of what my writing is kind of like. And it varies, but this first one that was published by the Minerva Rising, I should say, Minerva Rising Press, is about older women. There's not enough in our culture celebrated about older women. I've mentioned that before on this channel. And this just came to me one day, kind of a while ago. It takes a while, the whole submission process and getting somebody to publish your work. If you're lucky, you just face rejection as part of the show. That's the game, that's part of the game. So this just got published. I think I wrote it several months ago. And with moving and everything, writing definitely was put on the back burner for a while. But now I'm back. So anyway, let me read this one. Oh, it's short. It's not many words. I think it's 400 words, 450 or something. There's a word at the end. I hope doesn't offend you. If it does, I'm so sorry. It's an off-color word. It kind of adds punch to the end. And I just originally wrote it that way, and I've kept it that way. And I hope it doesn't offend you. It's not one of the 4-letter words, but it's a word that I don't say when I'm talking to people, but it was fun to write it. Anyway, here we go. Okay, I'm going to turn and look at my computer screen, so my glasses will be all glared up. Anyway, here we go. Invisible. Old women are invisible, but in a way, it's our superpower. Not chosen, but imposed upon by a culture enamored of youth. A wrinkle-free obsession that suffers our presence with indifference. Neglected voices of wisdom, gentled by a lifetime of living. But we know better. We remember the dismissed notions of our girlhood, the brief window of approval when physical beauty inspired tolerance cloaked in desire. The sacrifice and sorrows of our forebears. They're all here. The girl, the daughter, the woman, the mother, the crone. Maybe we should thank you for our obscurity and insouciance, because we've grown while you were distracted. Our bodies bear the passage of time, but our insight is worthy. So thank you to the man who wouldn't give up his seat on the bus so I could teeter on 2 arthritic legs instead. Maybe you had a tough day. Maybe the seat was all the power you could claim. Thank you, airline passenger, who nearly knocked me over rushing to your seat to stow a bag before others took a precious inch of overhead real estate. It was a full flight. Thank you, customer service agent, who disconnected our call in the middle of my housing inquiry. It takes a moment to write things down these days, but you must have had other callers. Thank you, doctor, for leaving me for your next patient with a diagnosis and a million questions. Their situation must have been worse. Thank you, restaurant server, for rolling your eyes when I asked if the coffee was decaffeinated. My heart is easily disturbed, but you didn't know that. Thank you, cashier, for smirking at the young man behind me while I wrote my grocery check. He seemed amused by your gestures. My eyesight isn't what it used to be. Thank you, shopper, for taking the last handicap parking space. Your harried pace implied an impressive urgency for assorted cheeses and wine, as observed from my walker. I hope the party was joyful. Thank you, neighbor, for questioning my desire to return to college. Your concern was heartfelt but misguided. I still have passion for things. For life, for knowledge, for the future. We're not dead yet. We who've endured the passage of time know the heartbreak and insufferable pain this life can confer, and we survived. We know you will lose. Lose what you thought insurmountable: love, family, friends, pets, jobs, money, your self esteem, your health. Your heart, if you let it. Don't lose your heart, because pain will transform you. It can carry you with unimaginable grace to whatever comes next, just like us. We wish you peace and joy on the twisted path we share, most of the time. Your life will touch others in ways you'll never know. Make it good. Make the world better with your compassion. Be patient, say hello, be curious, be understanding. And most importantly, don't be a dumbass or you'll end up alone. The end. Sorry about that word. It made me laugh, so I hope it makes you laugh. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think about that one. That was sort of observations of women of certain ages and kind of rolled into one narrative nonfiction. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to read this next one called The Pink Cinderella Watch. Bear with me while I make an adjustment on my screen here. This is, oh my gosh, how could I read this? It's too small. Anywho, that's better. All right. The Pink Cinderella Watch. They retired our second grade teacher sometime in the fall. We had several replacements throughout the year, but Sister Anne was my favorite. She was kind and radiated inner peace and joy, or was perpetually overheated from her long black habit, black stockings, and sensible shoes. Mom graduated from the same medieval school, and she was her favorite too. One day after recess, Sister Anne asked if anyone lost something in the schoolyard. Looking left and right, we shrugged our shoulders and waited for more intel. A beautiful pink Cinderella watch emerged from her deep pocket. I never knew I wanted a pink Cinderella watch, but the desire arose just like that, instantaneously. My hand shot up without thinking. I claimed the coveted timepiece without a second thought. The first heist of my criminal career. I sailed through the rest of the day so pleased with my treasure. Skipping all the way home after the bell rang. Mom was waiting for me and casually asked about my day. I chatted about this and that, never mentioning the pink contraband. I should have known the jig was up. She was sitting on the couch. Mom's sitting was limited to 4 minutes at dinner. But there she was, armed with Catholic guilt and thinly veiled anger that I failed to perceive. When her hints missed their mark, she finally asked about the watch. I said I found it. Another lie. That's when she blew. Oh, did she blow? Sister Anne called earlier to report my early descent into hell. Mom was so embarrassed that her child would lie to a nun, and her favorite one to boot. Ugh. The interrogation from the couch that day is crystal clear, but the rest is fuzzy. There was a spanking, the walk of shame back to school to return the watch and apologize, and the rosary recited 1,000,000 times while they discussed my salvation over tea and hand-wringing. I was grounded too, or did some sort of extra penance, like feeding the poor, curing cancer, or folding laundry for eternity. Sigh. So began my life of crime, and the first time I remember lying to my mom. There were infinite attempts, some successful, but mostly not. I had no poker face and improved little with age. For the record, I haven't stolen watches or anything shiny since high school, retiring early in freshman year following a mostly successful criminal career. Surprisingly, the pink watch debacle, when unbridled desire transcended fear of eternal damnation, that's the only time I was caught. And although I couldn't imagine living without it at the time, I've never actually owned a pink Cinderella watch. Sorry, Mom. Thanks for not selling me to the circus. The end. So, anyway, two items I've written, one published, one published on my blog site, published, posted, whatever you want to call it. I'd love to know what you think. I really appreciate your listening. And yeah, let me know in the comments. And what I really want to know is if you write, what are you writing? What do you like to write about? Are you journaling? Do you wish you could write but can't find the time or don't know how to start? I'm just so interested in anyone who's taken the time to stay here and watch this video and others, and would love to know if you want to share. If you don't want to put it in comments, I do have a contact form on my blog site. Again, it's dearmom.com, 2 M's on the mom. If that's how you'd like to get in touch, I'd welcome that correspondence. And also your thoughts about these two pieces. Yeah, I can take it. Anyway, I think that's it for now. So as far as the writing goes, I'm currently reading and finishing my favorite Jane Austen novel, Persuasion. So I'll talk about that next week. I absolutely love it. And then I want to finish it. I'm right at the crucial part at the end. And then I'll watch the brilliant movie that was made. There's several. I'll mention the one I like next week. I'm also reading some other things. I just started or picked up a biography about Ray Bradbury, another favorite author. But I don't know, I probably won't get finished that by next week. So book number 2, not sure yet. There's another small Jane Austen called Lady Susan that I might read. I don't know. I'm also reading poetry in between. I'm always reading nonfiction and fiction. And as I mentioned, I think last week or before, that we had a cold spell, which was so welcome. It's warm again, sadly. But, it was all about fall. And I do tend to want to read poetry. And I just got some collections of ghost stories as well, which I also love. I love Halloween, the fall season. Hooray for fall. So I think that's it for today. Again, thanks so much for watching. And if you're so inclined, please hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks again. Bye now. Be well.